What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the world according to Briggs and another video on where Americans are going when they leave the United States. They call them expatriates or expats for short. That's just a name they give people that live outside their own native country. People leave the United States for various reasons: work, family, retirement, cost of living, romantic relationships, the list goes on. In our last video, we showed which countries have the most Americans, and just the number, living within their borders on a permanent basis. Some on the list were there because of size and proximity to the United States, like Mexico and Canada. They're easy to get to, they're big countries, so obviously a lot of people from here, if they're going someplace, are going to end up there. A good percentage of them at least. Not really the appeal or popularity in most cases. Today we're looking at the most popular in the last few years and what 2021 will probably be. I would just give you 2020 numbers, but the way everything's gone in this year, 2020's been a mess. It's going to destroy trends and averages, so who knows? All right, let's see what we found. Number 10, Sweden. There's a lot of things pulling Americans to Sweden. Tech jobs, environmental jobs, very environmentally focused country, financially stable government, a generous social security program, and it's a family-oriented culture. Very much so. The Swedish healthcare system is considered to be the third best on the planet, and their quality of life is also third. The cost of living here isn't crazy low like a lot of expats look for. They have other positives that bring people to the shores of Sweden. Most people not from this part of the globe think everyone in the country is blonde-haired, blue eyes. That's incorrect. They have 6 brunettes with hazel eyes. I checked. I talked to a lot of people. It's very true. 6 of them. Can you believe that? Ruins the stereotype. Sweden is a beautiful country when it comes to landscapes, the people, and things to do. It's just got a lot of things to do. It's an amazing country. Definitely worth a look. Number 9, Vietnam. Vietnam has come a long way since the 1970s. They have become a great place for business and for its citizens. I know a couple of people that work for Nike that were transferred there and pretty much opted to stay. Vietnam has become a great country for outdoor lovers. I mean, since we stopped bombing the place almost 50 years ago. They have a lively culture, a very low cost of living, and a great work-life balance. That is a big thing that a lot of Americans look for. They don't want to have to keep working full-time in their retirement. They move to these countries in a lot of cases because it's got a good work-life balance and it's not terribly expensive. The cost of living and lifestyle are what brings Americans to Vietnam these days, which is much better than the draft. Number 8, the United Arab Emirates. College grads have been flocking to the UAE for a few years now. They pay well for tech and finance types. Probably not a place you want to move to in retirement because it can get very expensive. But if you're pulling in a solid income and you're looking to get some experience in your career, this is probably worth it. It's also a place for people that don't mind hot weather. This place was described to me as being in a sauna wearing a parka while drinking hot tea during the summer type heat. That's hot. Number 7, New Zealand. Expats love New Zealand for a variety of reasons. A better quality of life, mental well-being, relaxed lifestyle, and more free time to do what you want is what's drawing people in. The downside is it can be very expensive living in some of the cities, especially Auckland. Auckland is ranked up there with San Francisco, New York level of crazy expensive real estate and pretty much expensive everything else. It's one of the most expensive cities to live in on the planet. But it's got a lot of positives. New Zealand reminds me of California when it comes to breathtaking outdoors. I mean, for all its problems, you gotta admit, Yosemite, the Redwoods, the Golden Gate Bridge, they've got things to see in California. New Zealand has great outdoors like Hokitika Gorge, Mount Cook, the Emerald Lakes, Lakes Gunn. That's just to name a few. A lot of people go here for the outdoors, but they do have jobs for Americans looking for tech and finance and different things like that. So if you're working stiff with a good education, this might be worth taking a look. Number 6, Spain. Spain is for Americans looking to live a more relaxed life. There's less of a focus on status in Spain than here in the United States. And stop typing. I'm sorry you had an uncomfortable encounter while living in Spain. Maybe try to blend in your new country next time instead of getting pissy at a bar while wearing a shirt that says America because they don't have Budweiser. That's not even a story I made up. That's a true conversation I had with someone. They were in Spain, they had their favorite America shirt on, and they were mad because they didn't carry American beer in the place, and actually threw the glass at the bartender and got arrested. Yeah, that happened. Most expats talk about their stress level lowering while living in Spain. That's one of the number one things they say, their stress level went down. It's just a more stress-free country, and that's bringing people in. Number 5, Uruguay. Uruguay isn't that big or that well known for that matter, but it's been picking up steam since the military dictatorship ended in the mid-1980s. These days, it's one of the most progressive countries in the world. The entire country isn't that big. It's the size of Washington State, with a majority of its residents living in their one main city. If you're thinking about moving here, you're probably going to end up in the capital city of Montevideo. You won't need a car if you don't want one because they have an excellent public transit system. They have great beaches and a low cost of living compared to the United States. Property prices have been climbing in recent decades, so that's not as good a bargain as you might hope. Uruguay has maintained a stable economy and a functional political system with very little corruption. For the most part, native Uruguayans are highly educated, but you'll need to know some Spanish if you want to live there and get through life normally. A lot of Americans are moving to Uruguay, and that's going to continue. I think it's going to pick up steam probably here in 2021-22. Number 4, Ecuador. Ecuador has been a very popular country for people who have called it quits on the US and Canada for about 30 years now. It's always in the top 10 for things like friendliest people, ease of relocation, weather, scenery, and a few other things. The cost of living is low and the food is great. Many say expats living in Ecuador are the happiest in the world. They have a slower, more relaxed pace of life, and they focus on friends and family relationships. They have a great climate and plenty of things to do in Ecuador. Ecuador is great if you're retirement and maybe on a fixed income because, like I said, the cost of living is low. Real estate and rent prices compared to the US are really low. Of course, if you live in one of the major cities, they're going to be a little higher than the rest of the country, just like every other country on the planet. So just keep that in mind. I had a conversation with a guy the other day about that. He had to explain to me that my numbers were wrong. I was talking about averages, and he was telling me how his house costs so much, and I forget which country. But I tried to explain averages to him, and I don't think he understood averages. But when you take the costs in a small town versus the big town, push them all together in what we call the numbers blender, you may call it a calculator, we come up with an average. Number 3, Portugal. Portugal is a major landing spot for British expats. The US and Canada have been catching on in the last 10 or 15 years. Portugal is always in the top 5 for quality of life. They know how to relax here. About 90% of expats are happy with the social life they have in Portugal, and almost all love the weather. Those are the two things they always pop up, their social life and weather. It's hard to find any expats that had any real complaints about this country. Here's the only knock against Portugal from an expat that I found. They said you are only bordered by water and Spain. If you want to go to any other country, you have to do some traveling. If that's your only complaint, it's not a bad place. Now, the cost of living and property isn't the cheapest as some of the other ones on this list, but it's not terrible. Of course, again, unless you're living in one of the major cities. Find a small town in Portugal and live happily ever after. Number 2. Singapore. Expats find Singapore a comfortable place to live, and those surveyed said it's an easy place to settle in. Singapore has a high standard of living, friendly people, and a legendary nightlife. And that's one of the main reasons listed when asked. The nightlife. Everyone loves the nightlife here. It's crazy. Actually, if you've ever heard anything about their nightlife, it is crazy. Singapore is a small city-state that doesn't have a large amount of expats from the US, but it's still very, very popular. Another reason people like Singapore so much is its proximity to popular destinations across Southeast Asia, and they've got a great international airport, which makes it easy to get around to the other countries in this section of the globe. I mean, you got like Malaysia right there, Borneo's not too far away, Indonesia's right there, it's all right there. And before we get to number 1, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give the video a big thumbs up, be a part of our community, and on to number 1. And number 1, Taiwan. Taiwan is ranked overall number 1 for a couple different reasons. The first one is it's the number 1 country searched by people thinking about skipping out on the US. They have a great quality of life, cost of living's really low, and an abundance of scooters. Honestly, go to any city in Taiwan and you will think there's more scooters in that city than people. Taiwan is rated the best in the world for healthcare affordability, with 90% of the people surveyed saying they are satisfied with what they pay for their healthcare compared to 55% globally, and actually 30% in the US. Many expats in Taiwan said it's extremely easy to settle down, and the locals are generally very friendly. The biggest obstacle most of them face is the language barrier. You gotta know how to speak to the people here. Not as many as, let's say, Japan. You find a lot that speak English. You're not gonna find too much of that in Taiwan. I mean, they will have people there that speak English, it's just not as common as other Asian countries. All right, that's today's list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Like I said before, don't forget to give the video a big thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.